I have 1,554 friends on chess.com. You can see that right down here at the bottom. These are my friends. And today I'm going to be picking one of them at random. I haven't planned this ahead of time. I'm just going to randomly scroll through and pick somebody. And I'm going to analyze one of their games and try to give them one key takeaway or maybe a couple of key takeaways from that game that hopefully helps them improve as a player. Like I said, totally random. Rating does not matter, how long we've been friends or anything else. It's just totally random. Okay, if you would like to be a part of this, if I do this in the future, there's a link in the description. It'll take it in my profile on chess.com. You can add me as a friend. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so I went through the friends list and looked around and decided to choose Ethan Dowler. He says he's enjoying the 1500 life, and I figured why not? So he's rated about 1,000 in Blitz, and it looks like 1557 in Rapid. So I like that because what that tells me is when he has a little bit more time to think, he's able to think through things, make good moves, and maybe struggles a little bit with the time pressure, which honestly is true for pretty much everyone, right? Everybody kind of struggles with the time pressure. So I like that. Very solid rapid rating. But I'm going to find one game now to go ahead and look at. This is totally random. I'm not picking a particular game. I'm just going to find one at random and see if we can get a few key takeaways that hopefully will help Ethan improve as a player. And if he doesn't watch this video, well, then it will help all of you guys. So anyway, here we go. Let me go find a game. All right, guys, so here's a game that I've selected at random. Ethan was white. This is one of his recent rapid games. It was a 10-minute game that he lost. And we're going to see what happened and see if we can figure out maybe where he went wrong and try to get a few key takeaways from this game. So here we go. Let's take a look. All right, so he plays e4. He plays the wing gambit. Okay, so this is interesting because for those of you who have taken my e4 gambit course, you'll know that this is one of the lines that I recommend. I'm curious if he's taken my course. So let's see what happens. He plays d4. Okay, so I think not. I think he's just playing. I think it's just a coincidence that he's playing the wing gambit. So in my course, I actually recommend the line a3 and talk about why we take with the rook. It's kind of weird, but that's what I focus on. He plays d4, which is another way to approach it. You just get the center right away. I don't like personally leaving the pawn there because it's pretty annoying not being able to put my knight on c3 or even my pawn on c3 without worrying about black capturing it. I do like to play a3 because it lures that pawn away and you don't have to worry about your d4 pawn because you can support it easily with the c pawn if you want. Also, by giving up your a pawn, if black takes, you've unleashed your rook, which I do like. It gives you a lot of options and kind of long-term pressure on the A file, or you could put the bishop there. There's different ways to do it. But anyway, it's nothing bad with this. This is just a different way to approach it. All right, so let's keep going. He develops bishop c4, it's totally fine. He castles, great. So he's following opening principles, developing quickly. He's got nice control of the center. Really nothing to complain about here. Plays c3. Okay, so yeah, this is another way to do it, I guess. You know, you're going to recapture maybe this way, or if black takes you, then you get your knight on c3. Personally, I think a3 is maybe slightly better because I would like to trade these pawns and then have my c pawn just sitting there. So for example, something like this, and then this is going to be very solid, just supporting the center. When you do it the way that Ethan did, your center is maybe not quite as solid. This pawn, you could see, is a little bit more weak and could become a target. But still, it's fine. He's developing quickly. He's controlling the center. So far, nothing really big. Okay. Bishop e3, developing. Great. d5. Okay. He just drops back. I like that. I think, you know, rather than trading here and opening up black's bishop for them, I think dropping back is totally fine. So I like that idea. Okay. Queen to d2. This is great. A lot of times when somebody castles and fianchettos their bishop like this is a good idea. You make the queen and bishop battery. You can potentially come down here and trade off that bishop, and it becomes easier to attack the king. So I definitely like that. Okay, we get a trade here. Knight comes to f5, brings the bishop over. Okay, he obviously can't go here anymore because of the knight, so he goes to g5, which I think is fine, saving that bishop. Queen to b6. Knight to f6. Yeah, this is a pretty good move. I like this. Let's see, is black gonna, okay, black does take it up. So yeah, this is great. I mean, this is the dream right here. This is the dream. Like if you can ever get a bishop like this in front of a king where they've fianchettoed the bishop, but then you get rid of that bishop somehow, and you still have your bishop, this is amazing. Because look at black's king. It's we're so close to even just checkmating it immediately, right? This knight is the only thing stopping us from just checkmate in 2 moves, essentially. So g4, this is like the move that I'm going to probably play next. So let's see what happened in the game. Knight goes back. Yeah, I'm probably going to play g4 here. Because if that knight has to move and I get my queen in there, guess what? It's over. It's over. So let's see what happened. He takes it. Okay. So this is a really interesting moment. I think we should talk about this position a little bit. So um, it looks like Ethan had the idea of trading here, which forces the knight to come back to capture. And then he wanted to go for a checkmate, is what it looks like, right? Which is not a bad idea. I definitely see what was going through his mind, at least part of it, it looks like. The issue is that after knight to f5, which we saw in the game, and then really what happened in the game, h5, it kind of shuts down the checkmating threat. So here's the thing. Let's go back for a second. Here's the thing. Whenever you are playing chess and you have a certain situation, you kind of want to have, let's just say you had like, this is situation A and situation B and situation C. You have all these different situations in your head. You kind of need to know which one is the best and which one is kind of like mediocre and which one's kind of like bad. So let's imagine this is one of those situations. You have a bishop in front of a king where they fianchettoed their bishop, but that bishop is now gone, but you still have your bishop, right? This is one of those situations that I would categorize as like top tier. Like this is the best of the best. Like if you can get this, don't give it up unless you're getting something really, really good in return. Does that make sense, guys? Like this is so powerful. There's no way in the world I'm taking this unless I either see a forced checkmate, I see a forced way to win a queen or a rook or like something really big. Otherwise, I'm keeping that bishop. I'm just keeping it, right? So you compare that to this situation where it's like, okay, I've got my queen. I'm getting ready to bring in my knight and threaten checkmate. That can be pretty good. It's a question of can your opponent stop it? And it turns out that there are, generally speaking, I would say there are probably more ways to stop this kind of threat than when you have that bishop that we saw before. Like that bishop there like that is super powerful, okay? And that's what we saw here. The knight attacked the queen, h5 happened, and all of a sudden now black's the one who is starting to create threats on white. And I do like what Ethan was doing. He kept attacking it. He kept trying to break through. I do like that, but what you're noticing is that black just has these other resources. e5 was a good move from black, pinning the pawn here on the queen, right? So going back, don't give up those super amazing bishops in a case like this, right? Like I wouldn't give up the bishop for the knight. Now, knight to d5, this is an interesting position because knight to d5 is coming. So like let's say we play g4. It looks like there's this tactical idea that you can play here, and even though we can trade, the queen now suddenly is kind of causing a problem for us. So if we were to take here, the queen's going to take here, and black is actually doing fine. So tactically, that's unfortunate that black has that idea. And looking at the engine here, I can see that the best move instead of g4 is actually rook a to b1. And this is also a good moment to stop and talk. So if you think about this position, and you think in terms of, okay, what's the best thing that I have going for me in this position? This bishop in front of my opponent's king. This is it, right? How is my opponent most likely going to stop that? Well, in this position, there's one obvious move, and there's really only one way that I see. This knight has to go to d5 and trade for it. And then if we saw that if we capture, then maybe the queen. That's kind of black's only thing. So if we can stop that, it's going to be very difficult for black to even figure out what move to play, right? So let's come back now to rook a to b1. Why is this such a good move? Well, because we stopped knight to d5. Because if black plays knight to d5, this rook is lined up on the queen. We take it, and black doesn't have time to retake, or we take their queen. So you can see how by playing this almost looks like it's unrelated to what's going on over here with this stuff. It actually is. It stops black from playing knight to d5. Sorry. It's a super powerful move, right? And black probably has to play queen a6 to try to keep the queen lined up here and continue to threaten knight to d5. And then the game's going to go on, and you could try g4, and I think here you would have to probably move your bishop now. You could take, but then again, the queen is unfortunately hitting it. Personally, if it's me, I might consider a move like g5. This bishop is just so powerful that I want to keep it here at all costs, right? I want to keep it here at all costs and see if I can figure out a way to get my queen over here at some point and come in for the checkmate. So You know, it's a tough position. I definitely see what Ethan was thinking, right? Going for the checkmate here on h7. But you want to remind yourself, like, what is the best thing that I have? And what are the priorities? And in my opinion, this bishop is like amazing. You do not want to give that up. So, all right, let's keep going. Oh, that's not the game. This is the game. Okay, so he captured it, did go for the checkmate, and black was able to kind of stop that. And that being said, the game is not over, so let's keep going. Knight comes in with a check. He moves over, fine. Yeah, e5, very good move by black. Pinning the pawn here. You notice he can't take this or he loses his queen. And this was kind of his main threat here to try to get, come in like this for the checkmate. So that's unfortunate. Plays queen to e3. Check. Okay. I'm just was looking like if there was some sort of a tactic. It almost looks like there was a tactic here of like taking and then you go here, but it doesn't look like it really works because there's always knight to f4. So yeah, definitely tricky position. Engine is saying queen h4 is the best move. Yeah, I see why you wouldn't want to just allow that. So yeah, tough position. I can't really complain about queen to e3, f3. Can't complain about that. Takes on e5. Great. So now he's back already making some nice progress. This was a huge mistake by black, allowing that. Now the knight has no support. So I do like that. Okay, so knight to h3, he just takes it. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a free knight. Engine is saying it's better to actually just ignore that. Go for this, which is crazy, but I think I probably would have taken the knight too in this position. Okay, goes back to g5. Bishop to d5. Good move. Very good move. Black is threatening something here, and so you just go ahead and deal with it right away. I do like that. Rook a to c1 also, I think, is a little better, only because you're basically doing the same thing, dealing with the threat. If black pushes, you would take the queen, but you're doing it in a way that brings a new piece into the game that you're not currently using. And so this bishop's kind of already involved, so I think maybe rook there, but still a solid move. Yeah, see, like this move wouldn't be possible, right, if you would have played rook a to c1. So you can see how getting more pieces controls more squares, limits your opponent's options. You have less to worry about, right? Now you have to worry again about a checkmate threat here. So how did he deal with that? He just took it, which is great. Still totally fine for white. The best move here was taking with the rook. Yeah, again, it kind of goes back to when you're attacking your opponent, you want to try to use as many pieces as you possibly can. And the same thing when you're defending. If you can defend in a way that activates more pieces, by all means, do that, right? So you want to take this pawn. You've got three options, 1, 2, and 3. Which one should you do? Well, this one kind of retreats your knight. This one kind of retreats your bishop. This one activates your rook. And now you can double up rooks if you want. Or you can use this rook maybe here or here, not right away, obviously, but you're just, it's a possibility at some point. And you keep your bishop smack dab in the center, keep the pressure on this diagonal, whereas when you retreat, you lose some of those threats, right? So how can you activate as many pieces as possible, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. When you're winning like this, it's not a huge deal, but over the course of the game, those little decisions add up, right? Earlier, you could have had this rook here, but now you don't. Here, you could have this rook on f3, but you don't. Those little things can make a difference, right? f6. See, this move, I wouldn't even have to think about if my bishop was on d5, right? Wouldn't even have to think about it. Now, it's still good for you. I'm looking at the engine here, obviously, and we can see the eval bar, but in a game, now you have to calculate, like, okay, what's going on, and that's not really something that you want to deal with. Okay, and by the way, queen to e7, threatening checkmate, and the point is that if they take here, you do have this, which is unleashes the rook, and you can see black's position falling apart. They don't really have any good moves, because if they go here, checkmate immediately, they can just throw in some random blocks, but you just take it. Okay. You didn't see that in the game. You played queen to d5, which, all right, it's more natural to look for the checks than a move like this where you give up your knight. The way that you might think of that is like, how can I get my queen closer to the king to deliver a checkmate? And then maybe you would consider that move, but that's kind of a difficult one to find. All right. Okay. So yeah, you're getting a little low on time, which I get it. This is we start to see the effects of time pressure here. So here's what I would say: when you're attacking, and your opponent has something like this go, well, there's kind of two things. There's two parts to this. Number one, you're attacking. You have the more aggressive position. Now your king is not entirely safe, but it's basically just black's queen. You, on the other hand, have a queen and a knight and a bishop and maybe even a rook. You have more pieces involved. So I would say that you're the attacker and black is kind of trying to defend, right? Whenever you're in a situation like that, almost always, like 9 times out of 10, if you play a move like this where it allows your opponent to just trade off one of your attacking pieces for one of their non-attacking pieces, it makes it easier on the defender. Like it's going to make their life easier. This trade just makes their life easier. You have one less piece to attack with. Black's bishop wasn't really doing anything anyway, so that didn't really affect black. And actually, this brings me to my second point. This bishop actually was helping you by blocking this rook. So both of these pieces were kind of not doing anything, but especially this guy, the rook is not helping, which is huge. So when you go here, you kind of solve almost all of black's problems in one move. They just trade, they get rid of that annoying knight. Now their rook is ready to come into the game, and all of a sudden, where is your attack at? Yeah, you can throw in a check here, but actually you don't have time because it's black's move, and you could throw in a check here, but still, it's all of a sudden it's not so good for you. So it just goes to show the importance when you're attacking. Do not give your opponent an easy way out by giving them a trade. Best thing for you to do, I'm looking at the engine here, but it makes sense, is to get this rook into the game. Bring it here, attack this guy, even this one over here, attack this guy. If you did want to move the knight, I would say probably just move it like here, right? Engine doesn't like it for some reason, but this at least doesn't trade the bishop off right away. Doesn't make your opponent's life super easy, and you keep the pieces on and you keep going. So that's a big one. I understand time pressure was playing a role, but okay, keep going. We're going to check, check. Now the rook comes over, which is good. Okay, and yeah, the time pressure unfortunately messed you up this game, right? So yeah, I think we already talked about it. Big takeaway is when you're attacking, don't trade off those pieces and really think through what are your most powerful pieces. Going back to the bishop f6, this bishop was incredible. Don't give that up if you have the option, right? Like just keep that at all costs. It's super powerful. And some of this comes with experience. I've just played so many games where I know if I ever get a bishop like this, there's going to be a way to get a checkmate, right? Like imagine if there's a knight sitting here, that's checkmate. If there's a queen sitting here, that's checkmate. Now, of course, we have to deal with this guy. This is kind of the one defensive piece to get rid of. But once we figure out a way to do that, even like sacrificing a queen here and then bringing like a rook over and down is another checkmating pattern. There's just so many amazing things that I just know from experience. Don't ever give up that bishop. So, all right, I've said it like enough. I think we can stop. Anyway, Ethan, hope you learned something. I hope you see this video. And if not, everybody else can learn from your game, I guess. But yeah, overall, well played game. But you know, when you hit 1500, 1600 rapid, players are pretty good. And so you really gotta, you know, every opportunity counts. You gotta make the most of it. So anyway, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.